Post-World War II, the U.S. wasn't just rebuilding, it was panicking. Not about bombs, not yet, about brains. By the early 1950s, whispers spread. The Soviets and Chinese had something terrifying: mind control. American POWs came back from Korea. Strange. They confessed to fake crimes, spoke highly of communism, seemed rewired. To the CIA, this wasn't psychology. It was warfare. Forget bullets. The battlefield was now the mind. And the logic twisted fast. If they can brainwash, we need to brainwash better. A secret arms race began. Not for nukes, for the human psyche. Anything the Soviets might try, hypnosis, LSD, sleep deprivation, the CIA wanted in. Faster, bigger, deeper. No ethics committees, no oversight, just classified panic. This wasn't just about war. It was about control over soldiers, spies, even citizens. And when a scared government starts experimenting, things go dark, fast. Out of this fear came MK Ultra. Not a myth, not a theory, a full-blown CIA program, funded, staffed, greenlit to rewrite minds. The goal? Break a mind, control the person. Control memories, control loyalty. Because if secrets win wars, then controlling a brain, that's the ultimate weapon. The CIA launches Project MK Ultra. Launches is generous. Like most of the government didn't even know it existed. It wasn't just classified, it was buried, hidden across budgets and departments. MK Ultra wasn't about defense, it was about testing on people. The dream? Total behavioral control. Make someone tell the truth. Erase trauma. Insert false memories. Break an agent and reprogram them from scratch. Not theory, not science fiction. This was the plan. The methods? Unhinged. LSD. Their favorite. Legal, powerful, weird. Perfect for breaking down minds. But it didn't stop there. They tried electroshock, sensory isolation, barbiturates, speed, sleep deprivation, hypnosis, psychological warfare, volunteers, not always, prisoners, patients, soldiers, civilians. Some never even knew. The logic? The fewer questions you ask, the faster you get results. CIA-funded hospitals, covert universities, even secret safe houses. And at the center of it all, one man, one box of chemicals, one mission. Sidney Gottlieb, the chemist with a license to break minds. If MK Ultra had a mad scientist, it was Sidney Gottlieb. Soft-spoken, brainy, a Jewish kid from the Bronx with a clubfoot and a PhD in chemistry. Didn't look like a villain, but in the CIA, he became one. Gottlieb didn't just believe in LSD, he worshipped it. To him, the mind was software. LSD was the hack, and he ran wild. He designed the experiments, built fake hospitals, hired shady doctors, dosed people without consent. University campuses, test zones, psych wards, playgrounds, CIA safe houses, trap rooms. Drug them, deprive them, lock them away, watch the mind snap, and see what's left to rebuild. One time, he dosed his own CIA colleagues without telling them. One of them broke, jumped from a hotel window. We'll come back to that. To Gottlieb, the goal was simple. Erase identity, rebuild loyalty, make a person programmable. Spy, puppet, weapon. And no one stopped him. Because the CIA wasn't looking for answers. They were looking for control at any cost. The CIA didn't just want control. They wanted shortcuts. No interrogations, no lie detectors. Just the perfect chemical key to unlock the mind. Enter LSD. It wasn't illegal yet. It was experimental, unpredictable, and wildly potent. And Gottlieb believed it could do everything. Make people confess, make them forget, break them down, and build them back up. So they started testing. First on volunteers, then on people who didn't even know they were being dosed. Soldiers were given LSD during drills. Agents took it in meetings. Prisoners were pumped full of it, locked in rooms and observed like lab rats. And the goal wasn't safety, the goal was control. Could you extract secrets without torture? Could you program loyalty like software? They thought maybe, just maybe, LSD could erase fear, erase identity, even erase truth. But here's the thing, LSD didn't behave. One subject became deeply honest. Another went catatonic. Another had a breakdown that lasted for weeks. It wasn't predictable, it wasn't safe, and it sure wasn't a serum, but that didn't stop them. They just kept pushing. Higher doses, weirder conditions, riskier subjects, because maybe the problem wasn't the drug. Maybe the problem was the person. So, what if they tested it on someone who didn't even know they were part of the experiment? Sounds like a bad spy novel, but it was real, and it was insane. San Francisco, 1950s. The CIA rented apartments. turned them into brothels, hired actual sex workers, and rigged the rooms with one-way mirrors and recording equipment. The mission? Lure in unsuspecting men, drug them with LSD, then just watch what happens. No consent, no warnings, just surveillance. Government-funded, taxpayer-paid surveillance of doped-up civilians mid-tryst. It wasn't science, it wasn't strategy. It was voyeurism dressed up as research. Agents sat behind the glass sipping martinis, scribbling notes, and watching victims unravel. Some men panicked, some got violent, others just shut down. And the worst part? There were no follow-ups. No care afterward? No thanks for your service. Just data. Messy, unreliable, and mostly useless. But the CIA didn't stop. They expanded the program to New York, tested new substances, tried different combinations, all in the name of mind control. But really, they were just seeing how far they could go before someone noticed. And no one did. Not for years. Because when it's classified, it doesn't have to make sense. Let's be clear, there were no ethics. None. No consent. No guidelines, no oversight. The CIA was using real people, vulnerable people, like disposable lab rats, mental patients, prisoners, students, civilians who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were drugged, isolated, electroshocked, deprived of sleep and light and sound for days. Some of them never came back, literally. And the CIA? They didn't apologize. They didn't notify families. They just marked it classified and moved on. This wasn't science. This was torture. And the people running it? Many of them didn't even know the full picture. Because the structure was so compartmentalized, so secretive, that even insiders were guessing. Universities got funding, hospitals got grants, doctors got instructions, and no one asked where it was all coming from. Because the checks cleared and the orders had seals on them, people were being destroyed. Emotionally, psychologically, physically. And for what? For the dream that maybe, just maybe, you could flip a switch in the brain and turn a human into a tool. MK Ultra wasn't just unethical. It was an abyss. A vacuum where morality disappeared and power ran wild. Frank Olson wasn't a test subject. He was a scientist, a biochemist working for the U.S. Army, and closely tied to the CIA, smart, loyal, trusted, until he got dosed. A retreat with colleagues. Unbeknownst to him, Sidney Gottlieb spikes Olson's drink with LSD. As part of a field test, Frank breaks. He spirals into paranoia, confusion, depression. He tells his wife he wants to quit his job. He says he's made a terrible mistake. The CIA steps in, offers help, flies him to New York, takes him to a hotel, puts him under watch. And then, 9 days after the dose, Frank Olson falls to his death from a 13th-story window. The official report? Suicide. Case closed. But it didn't add up. There was no note, no signs he planned it. And the handler watching him? CIA. Decades later, new investigations raised disturbing questions. Was he pushed? Was he silenced? Did Frank know too much? In the 90s, his body was exhumed. The forensic report? Blunt force trauma before the fall. Like he'd been hit, then thrown. His family had been told nothing, lied to for years. In 1975, the CIA finally admitted he'd been dosed without consent. They offered an apology, a settlement. But the real story, the full truth, is still murky. Frank Olson wasn't just collateral damage. He was a warning, a man who saw behind the curtain and didn't survive it. Prisoners, mental patients, hospital wards, college campuses, anywhere there were vulnerable people, MK Ultra had a presence. And the victims? They didn't know. Sometimes they were told it was therapy or treatment or just research. What it really was? Manipulation, invasion, psychological war disguised as science. In one prison, inmates were dosed with LSD daily for 77 days straight. No breaks, no idea what was happening. In mental institutions, patients were electroshocked, drugged, interrogated, not to help them, but to observe their breakdowns. In universities, professors accepted grants and handed students over as guinea pigs. Some students volunteered for extra credit. Others didn't even know they were in a study. One guy thought he was doing a routine psych test. He ended up dosed with LSD and locked in a dark room. He never recovered. And the files? Most of them didn't use real names, just numbers. Subject A, Subject 9, Test Group 14. People were stripped of their identity, literally and mentally. And the doctors involved? Some thought they were helping. Others knew exactly what they were doing, but everyone kept quiet because the checks were big and the work was classified. This wasn't about healing. It was about testing on the most powerless people in the system. And the deeper you go, the worse it gets. Psychological torture in the name of science. Not all torture leaves bruises. MK Ultra didn't just rely on drugs. It used silence, noise, deprivation, isolation. Take away someone's sleep. Keep them in a white room, play random sounds for days, and eventually their mind starts to collapse. It wasn't about pain, it was about disintegration. Break someone mentally and not physically, and see what's left. Subjects were kept in sensory deprivation tanks. Total darkness, no sound, no sense of time. Some people cracked after just a few hours. Others hallucinated, cried, forgot their names. Then there was sleep deprivation. Staying awake for 3 days? Hard? 5 days? Dangerous? A week? You stop being human. And still, they kept going. One subject was locked in a room, dosed with drugs, and played loops of screaming children for over 100 hours. Why? To see if his brain would reset, reboot, forget itself. It didn't. He was never the same. Other methods included blindfolding for days, white noise through headphones, fake interrogations, hypnosis stacked with drug trips. The logic was always the same. Break the mind to rebuild it. But there was no rebuilding, just shattered people, discarded, forgotten, unacknowledged, and all of it funded by the US government. Because if the enemy could control minds, America had to try too, even if it meant becoming the monster they feared. The Canadian connection. You'd think this stuff only happened in secret CIA labs, right? Wrong. One of the most brutal MK Ultra chapters happened in Canada, at a respected hospital with real patients and a very real doctor. Dr. Ewan Cameron. He wasn't some fringe quack. He was the president of the American Psychiatric Association, and he had a theory. He believed the mind could be wiped clean, like a chalkboard. He called it de-patterning. His plan? Break the brain completely, then rebuild it from scratch. And the CIA said, perfect, here's the funding. So, in a Montreal hospital, Cameron began his work. Patients came in for mild issues like anxiety, depression, postpartum stress. They had no idea what was about to happen. They were drugged with LSD for weeks, put into chemically induced comas, given dozens of electroshock treatments in a single week, played audio loops over and over, even while asleep. The goal? Erase who they were, strip away identity, memory, behavior, then inject new thoughts, new habits, like programming a robot. But this wasn't programming, it was destruction. Many patients left unable to speak. Some forgot how to use the bathroom. Others didn't recognize their own children. These weren't spies or enemies. They were ordinary people, mothers, students, veterans, and they were shattered. The kicker? Most didn't even know the CIA was involved until decades later. It was MK Ultra, outsourced, a foreign experiment on friendly soil with devastating results. And when the truth came out, no one was held accountable. Cameron was already dead. The government? Denied, dodged, delayed. But the damage was done. And the victims? Still waiting for justice. By the early 1970s, things were getting tense. Leaks were happening. Journalists were asking questions. Some families, like Frank Olson's, were demanding answers. And the CIA knew if MK Ultra got out, it'd be a PR disaster. So director Richard Helms made a decision. He ordered the destruction of all MK Ultra records. Not a pause, not a review, just a total wipe. Boxes of documents shredded, files burned, paper trails erased, and just like that, decades of experiments vanished. Budgets? Gone. Subject names? Deleted. Evidence? Torched. Helms wasn't trying to hide just the details. He was trying to erase the entire program from history. But he missed a few things. A handful of financial documents survived, tucked away in obscure offices. Memos, receipts, project proposals, enough to raise eyebrows. Enough to spark investigations. But without the full records, most of MK Ultra's operations remain untraceable. We don't know all the names. We don't know all the victims. We don't know all the places. What we do know? It was far bigger than anyone admitted, and it was hidden by design. MK Ultra wasn't just an experiment. It was a cover-up, a system of lies buried in plain sight, and the people who authorized it, they walked away clean. The Church Committee exposes the truth. The dam finally breaks. After Watergate, the U.S. government is in full scandal mode. Senator Frank Church launches an investigation, a deep dive into intelligence abuses. What they uncover is shocking. Illegal surveillance, foreign assassinations, and buried deep in the files, MK Ultra. The public learns that their own government ran mind control experiments on unsuspecting citizens, that drugs, torture, and psychological abuse were used in the name of national security. Congress is stunned. News reports explode. The CIA scrambles to explain. Sidney Gottlieb is called to testify. He's evasive, says he doesn't remember much, says the documents were destroyed. And technically, he's right. With no paper trail, there's no full accounting, just fragments, testimonies, and horror stories. But the Church Committee's findings are undeniable. MK Ultra was real. It happened. And it went unchecked for over 20 years. The committee recommends reforms, oversight, accountability. Some changes happen, most don't. And for the American people, a sense of betrayal, their trust shattered. The idea that their own government could drug and break its own citizens, not by accident but by plan, changed everything. MK Ultra moved from rumor to reality, from fringe theory to public record, but the scars, they never healed. The myth versus the reality. MK Ultra became legend. Books, films, conspiracies, a dark piece of American history people couldn't stop talking about. But here's the thing. The myth? It's not always accurate. No, the CIA didn't create super soldiers. No one was turned into Jason Bourne. But the reality? Way more disturbing, because MK Ultra didn't succeed in mind control. It failed spectacularly. They couldn't create loyalty. They couldn't erase memories cleanly. They couldn't program humans like machines. What they did learn? How to destroy people. They learned how to cause trauma, how to induce psychosis, how to break someone so deeply they never came back. That's not science fiction. That's psychological warfare against their own people. And it wasn't just a few rogue agents in a basement lab. This was funded, structured, tested. This was systematic. Sure, it sounds wild. Drugging college students, running brothels as surveillance traps, funding Canadian hospitals to erase minds. But all of it happened. It wasn't magic. It wasn't hypnosis. It was trauma, confusion, and chemical assault, wrapped in a flag and signed by the state. So while the conspiracy theories get flashy, the truth sits quietly in court records, in declassified memos, in the lives it shattered. MK Ultra didn't build mind control, it built mistrust, and that legacy still very much alive. Legacy of distrust. MK Ultra didn't just ruin lives, it ruined trust. After it was exposed, people started asking deeper questions. What else is the government hiding? What lines are they willing to cross? If they drugged innocent people, what wouldn't they do? And those questions never really went away. MK Ultra became the seed of decades of suspicion, the origin story for countless conspiracy theories. And let's be honest, some of those theories exist because the truth was covered up for so long. People saw real documents get shredded, real victims ignored, real crimes go unpunished. So can you blame them for doubting everything? MK Ultra taught Americans and the world a hard lesson. That secrecy and power, unchecked, can rot the system from the inside. That science without ethics becomes cruelty. And that intelligence agencies left in the dark don't just gather secrets, they manufacture them. Even today when the government says, "Trust us," many people can't. Because they remember MK Ultra. They remember being lied to. And they know how easy it is to rewrite history when the paper trail is in flames. It's not just about what happened. It's about what could happen again. Because the tools still exist. The mindset, still possible. The oversight, still lacking. And the damage, already done. Question that still haunts. Here's the part no one wants to say out loud. MK Ultra wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't a rogue experiment. It was a choice. A decision by people in power to trade ethics for control. They didn't lose their moral compass. They threw it out. And decades later, we're left with one brutal question. Can a nation do something this evil and still call itself free? Think about it. Can freedom survive when governments treat their citizens like lab rats? Can democracy function when the truth is shredded before anyone can read it? Can you believe in justice when no one is held accountable? MK Ultra was never just about LSD or hypnosis or spy tactics. It was about control, about fear, about the belief that the ends always justify the means. That's not just un-American. It's inhuman, and yet it happened. So now we have to carry that truth, not to fuel paranoia, not to reject science or government altogether, but to remember what happens when no one asks questions, when oversight fails, when fear replaces ethics. Because MK Ultra isn't just history, it's a warning. And the next time someone says, "Don't worry, it's all under control," we'll know exactly what that can mean. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.